Hello and welcome to the ninerscast. Sorry, I mean the third and wrong podcast.
Niners, baby!
For some
Woo!
reason, the boys have decided to leave us on our own today, so we'll try not to talk about the 49ers too much, although it is the main
So
story of the week.
you say that you. I was gonna say you say that, Ollie, but like it has been the biggest story of the week, hasn't it? What's gone on in the Bay Area, and we'll cover that when we cover that. But like, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. Been a busy week, had a couple of job interviews, etc. So, but all in all, it's been a
Fingers
good
crossed.
week.
And I just want to say to the few who might be listening or will listen on download, I know last week we said a massive congratulations to the A-level students, but today was the GCSE results day, so I know some of you are really, really happy with your results. Don't listen to the likes of Jeremy Clarkson and Jake Humphries where they say, well, I never got my GCSEs and I turned out okay. You've worked really, really hard. Just to re-echo what I said last week, think of it as a keys to open the door to what you want to go and do next. So I said, well done to all of those who got their GCSEs today.
Yes, congratulations. My GCSE results today.
No, you didn't.
Do you remember you? No,
Oh,
I
sorry. I thought you said
remember.
you had your GCSE results today. I went, no, Ollie, you're in your 20s, mate. Like, what are you doing? I
Yeah,
do remember my GCSE results. I remember not doing great in. So I failed maths the first time. I got a U in business studies, and I wasn't happy with some of my grades. So I then went to town, and then I spent a lot of money on rock band T-shirts, and then I dragged my sorry self home early on in the evening. I'd been out all day to confront my mum and dad about how they weren't disappointed. I was more disappointed in myself because I wanted to do better. But like, yeah, I don't remember enjoying my GCSE results. I remember loving my A level results. I was buzzing about that, but like my GCSEs, I was disappointed in what I got. I mean, I ended up doing all right overall, but it was just that day I didn't like. What was yours day
yes.
like?
So I had to get a certain set of results to get back into my school,
Yeah,
and it was really sort of like I wasn't sure if I was going to get them.
yeah,
So when I opened my results and found out I got exactly what I needed to get back in, I was really happy.
yeah. And it's great, isn't it? Like when you actually realize that, and it sounds really really daft, right? But even now as a teacher, and I've been a teacher for nearly 10 years, whenever I fill out like a job interview, obviously they look to see like my qualified teacher status, but they always ask for my GCSEs. So like I don't know what like our educational secretary was saying last week about like, oh, in a couple of years' time they won't even bother, like they won't even ask you about like your GCSEs. Employers still do, like even in teaching, they want to know what you got your GCSEs in. So and I've been
I
an educator
I
for nearly
I
10 years now. I'll be
I disagree. The
oh okay.
only the only
I mean,
I
obviously
just say I
we go
could
for different jobs now, me and you, mate.
yeah I just say that I have 10 GCSEs from A to C, and that I got an A in English and maths, and that's all I actually say.
Yeah.
Anyway, shall we move on to football?
Oh yeah. Well, I guess yes. Let's move into football
So, shall we start with Diggs requesting a trade from the
before I
Bills?
start phoning up. Yes. So I'm not surprised. Um, and I've mentioned my frustration. So if we cast our minds back to the beginning of September, I did say that Josh Allen would be NFL MVP and the Bills would get to the Super Bowl. I was completely wrong on both counts. In fact, I even said at the end of the season that I think they disappointed me the most because they had so much momentum going into that season. Now we can talk about what happened with what was his name, the player that
Hamlin, Damar
went
Hamlin.
down. We can say that might have like derailed their season, but they weren't doing great to begin with before they went to the off season. Um, so I can kind of see them. I can see Diggs going, well, we tried to go all in. I don't feel now this team is reloaded enough to actually win the Super Bowl. When you look at like, well, the Chiefs are always going to still be there. The Bengals have reloaded. The Eagles have reloaded. Heaven forbid the 49ers are still there. If anything, we haven't lost any major players with the exception of maybe Jimmy Ward. We've got
And
Hargrave,
Mike McGlinchey.
which is Yeah, but like I don't think we've lost too much
Yeah,
overall.
we're still
So
going to be there
I
or
can honestly see
thereabouts.
him going. I don't. My window for the Super Bowl is closing, and I'm good enough to win one. If Odell Beckham Jr. can win one whilst barely playing with one leg, Diggs should be getting one. And we're seeing this more and more with the recent emergence of like the super teams, like the Rams when they went all in, the Bucks went all in. Um, who else recently tried to go all in? The Broncos have gone all in, and I can see him going. If you want to be with a team that maybe won there, I want to go to a team that's now going to win it. I don't want to be the main guy. I want to be the guy that actually is part of the team that will eventually win it. And I can see him honestly wanting to leave for those reasons because I don't think the Bills are going to be there and thereabouts, but I don't think they're going to be contenders. That I wouldn't even put them in my top 5 for the Super Bowl next year.
I agree with you. I think Diggs does not see them as a contender anymore, and
No,
he understands. But I do think that the Bills are going to win their division.
yeah.
I don't think that. I think they will probably get knocked out in the divisional round again.
Mm, I can see
But
that.
I think Diggs understands that, and that's why he's getting frustrated. And to be honest, I think this does. I think Sean McDermott's getting a bit too comfortable in his job, to be honest.
I can see that. Like we mentioned a while ago about like head coaches being on the hot seat. Um, yeah, he's been given enough. Do you know how long he's been head coach there? Like, has he been
I
there as long
think
as Kyle has?
no, not quite.
So, but like he's been given the tools. He's got Josh Allen. They've invested heavily on both sides of the ball. Like this isn't a team that's slowly built itself up. This is a team that's gone all in with draft capital and free agency. They've still got like
So
an over the hill Von Miller. Josh
Sean McDermott
Allen's.
became head coach in 2017.
So he's been there. What? He's been there 6 years.
Yes.
Okay, so he's been there 6 years. So he's gone for that. This is we'll say like a head coach needs at least 2 years to implement his system like it's a working wheel. So you
If,
take
if
that
you
into
if
account.
you if you look at like coaches at NFL, they usually get 3 seasons, don't they?
Yeah, but like, I think when you initially brought in, you're trying to implement your playbook, and you're also trying to work out real time who fits, who doesn't, who do I need to move on. So then you've got your
Yeah.
draft, then you've got that season, and then you implement it a little bit more. Then you have your second draft, and that's when I agree with you there. That third season is when you've had enough time now with free agency and draft and implementation and bringing in your own staff members that this is your team. So this has been his team for 4 years now. And there's promise every single year without being able to deliver. And I think Diggs probably in his right to go, all right, then I think I've had enough. I want to go somewhere else. And we were talking off air, but like, who actually realistically can afford him? That actually is a contender.
Yes. They've
Because I'm
already.
looking at like, God, so because
Uh,
I've got the draft capital open here, and we were talking
yeah.
off air about like certain teams and how much do they owe. The the Cleveland Browns have 34 million in free cap space. The Dallas Cowboys are second place with 21 million. Now the Dallas Cowboys is somebody that I would probably put in that top 5, maybe Super Bowl contenders. Could you see him in Dallas? Could you see the Bills maybe entertaining?
I could see him in Dallas, but I think Dallas are pretty happy with Lamb,
Yeah,
Cooks, and Gallup.
yeah.
I
Because
think
I'm yeah.
for me, the Cowboys' big hole is behind Tony Pollard on
Yeah,
offense.
yeah, I agree. Because like just looking at like you're thinking like his contract without going into the ins and outs, but like the Cleveland Browns have the most cap space. I don't think they're contenders. The Dallas Cowboys have again. This blows my mind because Dallas. You always think of Dallas as big spenders. They're 21 mil in free cap space. Then you got to the Cardinals. Cardinals aren't winning anything for the next couple of years. The Bengals are there, but the Bengals are pretty happy with theirs, and I don't see the Bills trading away Diggs to a genuine contender. The Panthers, they're not going to be doing anything. The Lions are slowly building, but I can't see him wanting to waste that window in Detroit. Jacksonville are there. The Jets are there. Maybe the Jets, but then again, you're trading to a genuine rival in your
Can,
own
can,
division right
can
there.
we just return to Cleveland?
Gone.
I think Diggs, as much as I don't want to say this, I think Diggs could make them a contender.
There's still lots of questions. I think they say that because they lost the weekend anyway. The Browns. No, they drew. I think defensively, the Browns are very, very very stacked. Offensively, they've still got a lot of questions. Deshaun, as much as I hate his guts, will probably be really good this year coming. Yeah, maybe, but
Because
I
with Nick Chubb at running back, Amari Cooper and Stephon Diggs as wide receiver, I don't see a big weakness.
no, and they've got a decent O-line as well because they've invested there. So maybe that could be a question that's entertained within the next couple of days before, or actually even after game week 1.
But the thing is, what would they need to trade to get Diggs?
You're thinking like a second and a third?
He's old though.
A third? 2/3?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think the one thing that may struggle would be Buffalo's asking price, because I think Buffalo will probably want at least 2 seconds, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at Diggs now, he's not. He's 29. He's
Yeah, but
29.
I mean, wide receivers don't tend to last that much longer than past that.
I don't know. I think when we think of like Fitzgerald, Jerry Rice, Edelman,
Yeah, but they're
Andre
all
Johnson.
outliers.
Yeah, but I think Diggs is Chris Carter, Randy Moss.
Look at what's coming along now. Corey Davis retires from the NFL. He's 28.
Yeah, but like Corey Davis is not Stephon Diggs.
True that, but
so the reason why I've just named, obviously he's not Jerry Rice, but like like Fitzgerald, like he had a long career in the NFL. I mean, he wasted it where he ended up, but like, and then you've got like Chris Carter for the Vikings. I know he's way before your time, but like Chris Carter was, a real good threat for Minnesota. Julian Edelman, there's a reason why Tom Brady kept bringing his ass out of retirement every time, because he was in his 30s and he was still his number one target.
You named Randy Moss and he's before my time, so
Randy Moss. Who did we have when we got to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago?
Sanders.
Deion Sanders.
Emmanuel Sanders.
I'm sorry, Emmanuel Sanders. Oh my god, yeah, Emmanuel Sanders. So you could argue that he was. And Quan Baldwin. When we picked up Baldwin from the Ravens.
If we had prime time, we might have won that.
Oh my good god! If we had prime time, our secondary would be like, it's the 49ers will not win a Super Bowl until we sort out our secondary. I'll just say it now. Every time we've won a Super Bowl, and I've been watching America's Game again, you go from like Ronnie Lott, Deion Sanders.
Is that all you watch?
Well, no, it's only okay. So I have a stepping machine and I have a bike, like an exercise bike. So I've got YouTube Premium at the moment. So like I've been watching them on YouTube. So like as I've been watching Secret Base because they do some really really good documentaries on American football. They're doing a massive series on the Vikings at the moment and why they've never won a Super Bowl in their existence. And then I watch like the Pat McCaffrey show, and between like watching wrestling and things like that, I'll just put like an America's Game on. And it's not just like the 49ers one. I love watching like the Raiders ones. I love watching the ones I don't watch is the Cowboys and the Patriots ones because I just choose not to. But I love watching like the Drew Brees one when New Orleans won the Super Bowl. So I'll tend to watch the same ones quite a lot. But like every time the 49ers have dominated in the league, it's because we've had don't get me wrong, Jerry Rice, Dwight Clark, Joe Montana, Steve Young, Roger Craig are all great players, but like the secondaries win you games, man. Like it's not just defense; secondaries win you games. And what's my initial point here? What's my point?
Niners secondary isn't good enough. Is your point?
Our secondary is not good enough.
Anyway, this is called Not the Niners Cast, and we need to move on to Jonathan Taylor seeking a trade from the Colts, and I just don't. I think it's the same problem of the asking price is too high.
All right. All right. So I reckon. Can you hear me all right? Because can
You
you hear me all
cut
right?
you
Sorry,
cut
'cause
you
it
you,
keeps talking.
you, you
I
you cut
think
out for a second, but
JT ends up in. Yeah, I think there's something going on between like our two connections. I could see JT in Philadelphia. Don't ask me why. I see him in Philly.
Philly have already gone for DeAndre Swift this year.
Yeah, but they can have two backs, and then you've got Hurts as well. Like they are really going all in. Like Philadelphia have gone. We were so close to winning the Super Bowl that stacked the offense for an all-in season. I could see them going for JT and like trying to do what San Francisco did a couple of years ago, like have those multiple backs.
Yeah, yeah. To be fair, I can see that. That would be a scary offense, though.
Yeah, I know, and I genuinely think that the Eagles could be favourite to the NFC this year, like over San Francisco as well. Because again, not talking about like the Niner cast. I think there's lots of questions around our defense, but I think Philadelphia is going to be absolutely stacked, and they're going to be really good, like scary good.
Yeah, I mean they already have the best, well, arguably one of the best 1-2 receivers in the NFL. So,
Yeah, they've got a
but
stacked defense that they heavily invested in as well.
yeah, I think another issue with JT is he's only actually done it for one season.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I, I, I. Sorry, apologies. I think he's. I said this. I said this at some point last year because I remember I had like an epiphany about it earlier when I was thinking about what we're going to talk about. I said I thought JT was on a downturn anyway. I distinctly remember having this conversation with you guys about how he wasn't having a great season, and then there was questions about whether or not he was going to stay in Indianapolis. And I remember saying he's not had a great season. Who would want to draft him? Now we can think about it from two ways here. We can think about it as is he already peaked and he's on his way down now? Because we've seen it before. We've seen it in the NFL
Todd
before
Gurley.
where running backs peak, they get a fat contract. Yet Todd Gurley is probably the number one. He was the one that was in Green Bay for ages and he got really, really fat. And he ended up washing out the league. Oh god, he was he was always stocky and then he got really, really fat and Green Bay just cut him loose. And I can't remember his name for the life of me. If anybody doesn't chat, please let us know. But I think he's on a downturn anyway. I think he's going to be coming down. But then maybe from his point of view is Indianapolis is not a great environment. I would go as far to say it's borderline toxic. They don't have a consistency at quarterback. They don't have a consistency with head coach. The offense is all over the place. They haven't had a set quarterback since Andrew Luck, and he's been at the league for nearly 5 years now.
Yeah, there's no O line really in Indianapolis, and that's what a
Exactly.
running
And
back
that
needs.
was the thing that drove Peyton Manning out of Indianapolis because they never invested in an O line. And then they drafted Andrew Luck, and then they never invested in an O line. And now Andrew Luck's out the league. So when you don't do things like that, so there's no O line, no consistency at head coach, no consistency at quarterback. They haven't hit the playoffs since Andrew Luck was their quarterback. So why would you give all? I mean, you're going to look bad in a team that's bad.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
you're gonna look bad in a team that's not helping you.
Yeah, like even Barry Sanders, when people rip Barry Sanders for only staying in Detroit, there were points in the late 80s and the 90s that the Detroit made the playoffs. Detroit weren't a bad team in the 90s because he was part of a team that didn't always win, but like the Lions were good for a short period of time. That's why he stayed. Jonathan Taylor is in Indianapolis and is in a team that's not very good and does not look to get much better going into the 2023 season. So yeah, I can see why he would want out, but at the same time, I can see from the office point of view of well, you're on a downturn anyway, and you're coming off the back of your worst year in the league. Why would we want to pay you back? So I can kind of understand both sides of it, but I think ultimately it has to end up with him leaving. It has to.
Yeah, well, he's holding out now.
Yeah, 100%. So office are dead set on not paying him. but that we're also dead set on not necessarily trading him. So something's got to give.
Yes.
But I think almost like Diggs to a degree, that bridge is burned.
Yes. Right. Shall we move on to it? Because we need to talk about it at some point.
Go on then.
Sam Darnold is named QB2 for the San Francisco 49ers, which leaves large question marks around the future of a certain Mr. Trey Lance.
All right, then. Ollie, do yours first, and I'm going to go into mine.
Okay. So, if I'm being honest, I saw this coming.
Yep. I think every 49er fan did.
After we signed Sam Darnold, I thought this was kind of inevitable. Here's what I think happened, and this is come from Grant Cohn, not me. I don't usually agree with him, but I do. So I think it was 3 days ago. Perry Shanahan was asked, "Who is your QB2?" And he sort of said, "Well, I don't really know. For some games, it might be Sam. For some games, it might be Trey." Now, bear in mind, Sam Darnold and Trey Lance have the same agent.
Yeah.
So I think that agent called up Kyle and said, sort it out. Pick a quarterback and trade the other. So then Shanahan said, "Okay, I'm picking Sam Darnold." And from John Lynch's comments today, it seems like this was leaked, not the 49ers didn't want this to come out. So I'm thinking maybe the agent leaked it to try and drum up some interest for Trey. And I think right now we probably have some offer, maybe 7th round, 6th round pick for Trey. And we will trade him at some point. We're just trying to get a better offer. And then I think we'll pay Bosa with the cap space that opens up, because I believe it opens up about 9 million cap space.
Yeah, something like that.
That's my view.
Okay. I've been mulling on this for like the last 24 hours or so. And am I surprised that Sam Darnold has beaten out Trey Lance? No. I think you said earlier, the writing was on the wall as soon as they brought him in. My biggest concern is, and I put that's my name on here, accountability. Now, the 49ers, all right, so let's do this as a bit of a time frame here. When Kyle Shanahan took over, he brought in Brian Hoyer, who was supposed to be like your bridging quarterback. Now, the 49ers tried to get Kirk Cousins because that is Kyle Shanahan's dream quarterback for his system. The 49ers could not get Kirk Cousins at that time. So then they made the trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. And then Jimmy Garoppolo, end of the season, unbeaten with the 49ers. Oh my God, we actually look like we can contend. The following season, in the offseason, we signed Nick Mullins and C.J. Beathard. Jimmy Garoppolo gets injured. And we're stuck without a quarterback. Without even a decent backup.
I think it was the second game.
Yeah. Was it second? Either way, it wrote off our season completely. We talk about like a quarterback going down can be hit or miss for, a franchise's, attempt. We were done. We were absolutely done. The next year, he's fit for the majority of it. I think he only missed a couple of games, Garoppolo. We get to the Super Bowl. Okay, we get to the Super Bowl. And I've said this before. There's multiple reasons for why we didn't win that Super Bowl. But Jimmy Garoppolo throwing 2 interceptions, the crucial one being in the fourth quarter, being probably the reason why we didn't have number 6. Anyway.
And overthrew an open Emmanuel Sanders for a touchdown in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. And then the next year, it's just injury hell. We tanked the season. And then there's a conversation that goes on that we've kind of reached this idea that Jimmy Garoppolo going down has ruined our season twice, essentially. We're not so sure of him. We paid him a ton of money. So John Lynch agreed to pay him a ton of money for that job. They've now gone, actually, we need someone to replace Jimmy because it's not working out. Like, he's only going to get us so far. So they gave up a ridiculous amount of capital to draft Trey Lance, three first round
picks in the third and a third.
If you look at who
the Dolphins have turned those 3 first round picks into,
Yeah.
Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb.
Exactly. So you look at that from that accountability. That's ridiculous. Trey Lance, we drafted Trey Lance knowing that he hadn't played a lot of ball in college. Like, he'd only been a starter for one season, and he got drafted. He was that COVID year as well, so he didn't really finish a full
He'd
season.
only played
So we
he'd only
drafted
played
him knowing,
17 games. He'd started 17 games in
yeah.
college.
So we drafted him knowing that he was raw. That would have to be, a thought process, a training development. You'd think that Kyle and John and the coaches knew that when they drafted him. That's why they picked him instead of Mac Jones, Wilson, Fields. Who else was in that? We were never going to get Trevor Lawrence, but there's all these different things that we take into account. So we drafted him. We get to the NFC Championship. We don't win. The off season, we want to try and get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo because we're going to go in on Trey. So a year ago, they were going to start Trey Lance as QB1. They were
did.
committed. Well, exactly. And if he didn't get injured that second game, they would have probably given him that season. Well, we would have found out. But they tried to get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo. Trey went down. Jimmy went down. We got Brock, Mr. Irrelevant, took us to the NFC Championship game, and then a fluke injury. That's the story. But it's the accountability, Ollie, that I really can't get my head out of, because you think in any other organization, and we've seen it in the NFL before, if you draft a high round pick as your quarterback, like Trey Lance, third pick overall in the draft, and your head coach doesn't make it work, in 31 out of the 32 other organizations, actually no, because they would never do it to Bill Belichick, but in any other organization in the NFL, the head coach would be sacked.
I feel like we drafted a project quarterback and then decided we didn't have the patience for the project because Brock Purdy came around.
And I'm just saying this now, it's a God-given fluke that we have Brock Purdy.
Yes.
Because I want to say, we see a lot of things we knew Brock was going to be good. No, you drafted him 7th round pick. He's the last pick of the draft. He would have gone to free agency, probably would have been picked up, maybe. He would be in the XFL or the CFL, whatever.
I said last year, before you guys both start, Brock Purdy won't make it past the first week of training camp.
Yeah, I remember you saying. And then when we brought him in, I know, our enthusiasm got higher and higher as he kept winning and he kept showing that he was good. And there was only really the game against the Raiders at the back end of the season where I thought, oh God, he actually looks really. He looked like a rookie. He looked like he was inexperienced. He played well enough against the Cowboys.
If you think
he blew Tom Brady out the water.
The one player I want to talk about is the one against Seattle, where he fake left, turn, fakes right, and then hits Kittle down the middle for a touchdown.
Yeah,
that was I was like, this is this guy's first away game at Lumen Field, and he's just done that.
Yeah, and I think Brock will come good. But we drafted Trey Lance knowing that he was raw, and Kyle would have to put in a lot of development. Now, I've heard quite a lot in the offseason, it's not just from Grant Cohn, about how cold Kyle Shanahan actually is as a head coach. That you hear the players saying, "Oh, he's really personable," but I look at it and go, Kyle is ruthless and cold. He's not like his dad, because anytime I ever read, because I've been reading Steve Young's autobiography, and Steve Young essentially says, Mike Shanahan saved his career. Because Mike Shanahan took over as offensive coordinator in the early 90s, and he turned Steve Young into the Hall of Famer quarterback that Steve Young became. Okay, and I know I'm wearing my Steve Young, and Steve Young's my favorite quarterback of all time. But he credits the man management that Mike Shanahan put into him, not just as a coach, but he put in so much effort to get to know Steve Young. I don't get that from Kyle. And even when we're talking about Johnny Manziel documentary, and Kyle's the quarterback's coach in Cleveland, and you don't see him being personable with Johnny Manziel. Now, Johnny Manziel is an issue onto his own, but I just don't think that, like you're saying, the 49ers are a win now team. If Trey got drafted by the Colts or the Cardinals or a team that you're not expected to do much in the next couple of years, he probably would be doing all right. But the 49ers have that window, and you can't have that development quarterback in a window that's win now.
I really hope Trey Lance goes somewhere and balls out.
Yeah, I do.
I think the best place for him to go right now for his development, I think, would be Denver.
You say Denver. I could see him going to either. I don't think he'll. I think playing under Robert Saleh, but then they've got like two quarterbacks there. I could see him going to Houston and being
I'm
with
just
D'Amico.
yeah, I'm just going with Sean Payton supposedly being the quarterback whisperer.
Well, no, I
Um,
disagree with that. Sean Payton is not a quarterback whisperer. Like, he looked out with Drew Brees and Drew Brees looked after himself. Like, Sean Payton, post Drew Brees, has done nothing and will continue to do nothing. I think it's a myth around. There's very few coaches that I would look at and go, he's a genuine quarterback whisperer. Sean Payton is not one of them. Like, he
potentially
really isn't.
potentially back up at Jacksonville.
No, I don't think he. I don't. No, I honestly I could see him, Houston playing with D'Amico again because D'Amico would have played against him in training sessions for the 49ers because Trey would have been playing ghost quarterback for his defense.
Yeah, scout
So,
team.
so I can imagine D'Amico knowing him quite well. I
Yeah,
think Green Bay would be a good fit for him. Green Bay, it's a football crazy city, but like it's a small city. He'd have time to develop because they're going to go in on Love, so he'd have a little bit more. So when it inevitably goes south with Jordan Love, Trey could be there. Trey can offer something different. I'm trying to think where else would fit with his skill set. Maybe Atlanta, maybe the
I,
Colts. Not that he would want to go.
well,
Um,
Atlanta all in on Desmond Ridder, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I've been watch. So when we did the quarterback thing, I went back and tried to, and watched Ridder and Howell because I was trying to find a way to do this. And although
yeah,
I put Howell above Ridder, Ridder did improve every game.
yeah.
And as for the Colts, they need to give Richardson at least 2 years because that's somebody else that's very raw.
What's this here? There's something about if
Breaking
you think
news.
more, not necessarily breaking news, but it was just more like personnel news and rumors about the Trey Lance being in San Francisco. That even though I've heard this quite a lot, that even though the players don't think he is QB1 material, there's a lot of disgruntlement coming out of the camp saying that even though he was never going to be QB1, Trey's been shafted quite a lot by the organization.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of tweets of Trey Lance deserved better.
Yeah, I just think it's very very messy, and I think it's what I think it could be one of the biggest busts in trade history. No, not trade history, in draft history.
Yeah, I think there's some other people that are up there,
Who?
but Jamarcus Russell.
Jamarcus Russell. The Raiders never had to trade up for him. They fell onto him. The 49ers gave up 3 firsts and a third to get Trey Lance.
Tim Tebow.
Broncos didn't give as much. And Tim Tebow fell into Denver. Like if we traded up to move to get Lance. Jamarcus Russell was picked up by the Raiders in the draft. Tebow landed in Denver. Like the Broncos, correct me if I'm completely wrong. I don't think I am. The Broncos fell, on Tebow. And Thingy didn't even want him. Elway didn't even want him. He got pressured into doing it.
Darnold.
I think, yeah, but how much did the Jets pay? Like we talk about like capital, like the 49ers.
I think Darnold was again a third pick.
Yeah, but did the Jets give up 3 firsts and a third?
No. The trade does make it a lot worse.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm
But
saying.
I'm just trying to look at in terms of where they were picked.
No, absolutely. But I think what the 49ers gave up to
Yeah.
get, and then are now giving up. Like you said, I don't know if you said on air or off air, but we're looking at now like a 6th. I'm like,
Yeah.
we gave up so much to draft him. Why are we asking for a 6th, which we'll probably get on a wide receiver or a tight end that will be cut before the season, like the game, game week 1 anyway. So I just feel sorry for Trey.
I'm going to speak in defense of Kyle here.
Go on.
I think this would be so different if Brock Purdy hadn't been Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
I feel like Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, turning out to be what he was, has hurt Trey Lance so much without trying to.
Yeah.
I remember questioning the Darnold signing when it happened.
There's it's very much a It almost feels sorry. It almost feels like what happened between Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick. Alex Smith's career in San Francisco was getting so much better under Harbaugh, and then he got that concussion. He was out for that week against the Bears. Colin Kaepernick comes in and he smokes it. He absolutely smokes him. He goes on this unbelievable streak. He beats Tom Brady. Ever think about beating Tom Brady with rookie quarterbacks? Beats Tom Brady. We get to the Super Bowl and he's one pass interference play away from winning the Super Bowl for the 49ers. And that effectively ends Alex Smith in San Francisco.
That play into the back of the end zone for Crabtree is still in my nightmares.
Yeah. And that's the shame because Alex Smith was getting better, but he got injured and Colin came in and you couldn't drop Colin, especially. Yeah. I mean, I've shown this to my forms over the years multiple times. That game performance in the NFC, not the NFC Championship, sorry, in the divisional round against Green Bay is one of the single greatest games I've ever watched from one player.
Didn't he rush for 4 touchdowns or something?
He rushed for nearly 200 yards. He scored multiple touchdowns. And like every time he got the ball, he just scrambled and he was getting like 10, 20, 50 yards. And you just see and it was a close game because our defense couldn't stop prime Aaron Rodgers, but their defense couldn't stop Kaepernick. And once you put in that performance, and then the season after when we got to the NFC Championship game and Colin Kaepernick played all out, you can kind of see why, off the back of that, we got rid of Alex Smith. We traded him to Kansas, and then Colin Kaepernick was that QB1, and he played because I saw them at Wembley that year, and he blew over.
I was there too.
Yeah, and then it was only then that third year under Harbaugh. No, it was his 4th year in Jim's thingy. And then he got injured.
Yeah, it was under Harbaugh, but it was when that power struggle between
it was because Jim only had 4 years in the Bay. Jim only had 4 years in the Bay, and then it was that year he got. I think we finished 8-8 because we were injured.
Yeah, we did.
We still didn't even have a losing season. Jim got released, and then Colin just had that horrible season where he got injured.
I mean, we were under Tom Sula and then Chip Kelly. I don't blame Kaepernick for either of those things.
Oh no, I'm just saying it's maybe Trey, if he hadn't got injured twice in those 2 years. So even when he's injured, he can't train. Like when he broke his leg in this season, he can't train. He can't. No. He can be at team meetings. He could maybe do some throws, but you can't really throw a ball effectively if you can't use your legs. So you've got a lot of lower power strength as well. But yeah, maybe Trey is just unfortunate because twice it was just bad luck that was against him. So I really hope that.
Here's something I want to say. Purdy, whenever he went off the field, the first person I saw him talk to was either Brian Greasy, or Trey Lance.
I've got this picture, and I know we're an audible medium anyway, and it literally is those two sitting on the sidelines. And I was going to have it as my wallpaper, because I've got some 49ers wallpapers because I've got a new phone. So I'm just going to get it up for a second on my phone.
My question is Darnold going to be able to say whatever Lance was saying to Purdy that helped him? Did it I think Greasy is a great quarterback coach, and I'm so glad we managed to keep him because I think D'Amico did try and go and get him. Yeah. But I'm just wondering, will Darnold be as helpful as Lance is to Purdy? Yeah. There we go.
That's literally what I was going to have as my wallpaper going into the season. No, because I think Darnold is going to be very much like a Tannehill. He's going to be. I'm not going to say it's only if you know the situation between Joe Montana and Steve Young do you know how really frosty and difficult and how it nearly tore apart that team in 88 and 89, and how in the early 90s it got really desperate to the point where they had to get rid of one of them because it got so frosty between the two of them. I part of me wants to say Donald, like Gino, he's got washed out from 2 different teams. He has a losing record as a quarterback anyway. Maybe he's going into this going, I'm QB2, but I'm going to keep playing. I'm part of the San Francisco 49ers. There's a good chance for the first time in my NFL career, I'm going to be a Super Bowl contender. Maybe I'm just going to do my best and try and push the team. But part of me goes, is he going to be like Ryan Tannehill and go like, well,
the thing is, Darnold came in knowing he wasn't going to be QB1.
But he's also he's been paid quite a lot as well. Like, he's not on chump change. Like, he's getting paid more to be QB2 than Brock Purdy's getting paid to be QB1.
Yeah, but Darnold came in knowing he was not going to be QB1. Because at that point,
I reckon he would have been.
He knew Purdy was going to be QB1.
I reckon he would have been told that it's competitive, and he would have a shot. And to be honest, I mean, going back and watching the Broncos game and part of the Raiders game as well, when I watched Trey Lance, especially against the Raiders, when he drops back, part of me goes, is he like? It was such an enigma. Like, is he going to drop back? He's going to pass to who he's supposed to do? Is he doing his checkdowns? Is he going to get sacked? Is he going to get intercepted? Whilst with Sam Darnold, the way that he stepped back from the pocket, you felt that he knew the game plan and the game system.
Yeah, I feel like
he understood. And even watching him against the Broncos, you felt that he understood the system that the 49ers.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you saw Trey Lance much in college, but it was sort of.
I've seen his highlights when we drafted him.
It was sort of drop back, first read, run.
Yeah.
It was literally hand it off, go to your first read, or run. He never really went through his progressions much, which is why he was so raw.
And they said the same thing about obviously Kaepernick, but I was watching something earlier on the week. They were saying about like Johnny Manziel, and it was from actually one of the coaches that watched him going into the draft, and they kept saying like Manziel was so exciting because he was unpredictable, and he was saying, well, that's why I didn't think he would go high in the draft, because you don't want someone in your team that's unpredictable, because you obviously have a game plan, you want to execute it in a certain way, because there's 10 other people on that field. So
yeah,
being, all right, is my first option on? No, all right, I'm gonna run. 10 other people on your team aren't gonna know what you're gonna do. Like, genuinely, you're not. That's what's really. That's why you need to really drill it. That's why Trevor Lawrence stands out so well, because he does his checkbacks. If his first option's not on, he's not going to run. He's going to be like, well, what's my second? What's my third? All right, now I'll scramble.
Rushing QBs are great, but the offensive line like to know where their quarterback's going to be.
Yeah, and they don't want a QB run every play. They don't.
Anyway,
right, enough Niner talk.
We've spoken to this for a while. Shall we talk about how the Giants have totally fleeced the Cardinals?
Yeah, do you want to lead on this one, because I haven't really looked into it.
A 7th-round pick for Isaiah Simmons. Isaiah Simmons is a good player. And I think it's highlighted by how bad the Cardinals are, that this guy is actually good. He can play linebacker, yes. He can play safety, he can play cornerback, and it's a 7th-round pick. I mean, you can say that's Brock Purdy, but can you name like any other 7th-round pick?
Tom Brady?
No, 6th round. The only other guy I can name is Ryan Suckup.
No, I can't think of any.
Yeah, exactly. That they have basically traded an irrelevant pick 99% of the time for a starting defensive player.
That's ridiculous.
I was gutted when we didn't get Simmons in the draft, because I think he is incredible. He is a very, very good player, and he's versatile as hell. He can do everything. He can rush, he can pass rush, he can pass defend, he can play quarterback, safety, linebacker. He is a very, very good player. And I can't believe the Cardinals let him go for a 7th-round pick.
It's not like they even need the cap space because, as I mentioned before, they have the 3rd highest cap space. They're on 22 million in free cap space. So you can't even do unless he's due to get paid and they have other ideas for what they want to do. But you can't even rebuild on the 7th round, can you?
No.
It's I don't agree. It blows my mind.
Now I'm going to quickly look on social media because I want to talk about the other trade, which is Josh Jones. And as of right now, as of this show starting 48 minutes ago, the compensation hadn't been named. But just while we're there, there's just something just popped up saying the Dolphins are inquiring about Josh Jacobs. But so yeah, I can't find the compensation for Josh Jones, but he started 11 games last year.
I mean,
Oh, hold on, trade compensation. So Cardinals are sending offensive tackle Josh Jones and a 7th-round pick to Houston for a 5th-round pick. This guy started 11 games last season.
yeah, it's
This is like Bill O'Brien level brainless from the Cardinals. My mind, it just boggles the mind. I don't understand. I mean, this is great because I don't like the Cardinals, but I really don't understand what the thought process is for
yeah.
this.
Get rid of
What is
Simmons and
Jonathan
Jones. Yeah,
Gannon? What is Jonathan Gannon doing?
I mean, we'll have to say. I mean, they'll be. I mean, it'll be an easy. I mean, it's always an easy game between the 49ers and the Cardinals anyway. It's been a long time since they beat us and beat us convincingly. I mean, yeah,
I
he's
mean,
gone for the
it
seventh
was
round
so
pick.
one-sided last year that the Niners fans started cheering when JJ Watt got a sack.
Yeah, it's
I just don't understand the Cardinals' thought process here. I really don't.
no. I mean, they're also the worst rated team on Madden as well, aren't they? Have you
Yeah,
played? Have you played Madden yet?
yeah, I like it.
Is it worth getting? Is it worth getting?
I really like the superstar mode,
I've
which is
been
like
told to get super. Yeah.
face of the
Have you made
franchise,
yourself a
and
quarterback? Yeah. Have you made yourself a
yeah,
quarterback?
yeah, yeah.
Who you been
I'm
drafted by?
playing it on the. I got drafted by the New Orleans Saints, and I just played a game today actually, and I've decided they don't have an offensive line. 9
Wait,
sacks, 9 sacks.
you got not sacked 9 times in a game.
2 of them were my fault, but 7 of them I just literally dropped back in the gut and someone was there. But yeah, the Cardinals for the first time ever,
Oh, mate, that's devastating.
with betting, the first time ever this has happened. Every game, they're not favourites in, so the handicap, they're plus handicap in every game.
That's ridiculous. It's actually really, really ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, Corey
Anyway,
Davis.
have we got any more news? Have we got any more news? Games to look forward to this
Corey
week.
Davis. We need to finish the news. Corey Davis retires from the NFL at the age of 28.
Yeah, yeah. Did he say whether or not it was injury related or?
No, it wasn't injury related. He's chosen to
Ollie,
step away from football.
he
He's
just had
chosen to
enough?
step away. Yeah. He told the Jets, but the Jets want him here. The Jets are paying him a decent amount of money. He was going to be part of their offense.
I mean, I guess whether or not you look at it and go, Is he doing the right thing? Because he might. I don't know. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Maybe he just didn't have it in him. Maybe he just realized it was getting hurt. Like, I'm not saying like get injured, but like if you're like getting absolutely smacked and you go, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Like, is it when you see like your friends or like you see like elder NFL players like struggling to walk, or they've got like head injuries, or they've got like hip replacements
Yeah,
or knee replacements. Maybe
I'll
you
just,
just
I'll
go,
just,
I don't need this. Like,
I'll just read out his full statement. For
yeah, please
some
do.
time now, I've been contemplating stepping away from the sport of football. This decision has not come easy. Although I am a deep person, I am a man of few words. I've been searching my heart for what to do, and I feel that stepping away from the game is the best path for me at the time. I have more blessings than I could ever imagine. I have an amazing family, a beautiful wife, and two healthy children that I look forward to spending more time with. I am
There we
truly
go.
grateful for all the opportunities I have had and will continue to have on my journey. Thank you to my family, my friends, and the Jets organization for supporting me through this process. Corey Davis.
Good. That's cool. Well, I wish you all the best in your retirement, my friend, and whether or not that is a private business or broadcasting or coaching or just generally just taking a couple of years out if you can. Well, obviously you can afford it. Just to spend time with your family.
Yeah.
I wish you all the best and thank you
Right,
for like 6 years in the NFL.
yeah, right. We've got two more quick points to touch on. Then we need to talk about last week's preseason and this week's preseason.
Okay.
So, firstly, we have Joe Judy was cut off the field today with an injury, and
Yes.
on top of Tim Patrick out for the season, if this is bad, it leaves Denver very, very short of wide receiver.
I see the Denver Broncos as frauds anyway. At no point did I see them as the contenders, and I still think they probably will finish dead last in their conference anyway, or yeah, in their conference. Um, it's difficult, but they spend a lot of money. I just don't like Denver. I'll just throw it out there now. I don't like the Denver Broncos. And I find any 49er fan that likes the Denver Broncos head scratching anyway. It's going to be difficult.
I don't hate them.
Oh, I hate them. I hate them so much. Like, there's very few teams in the NFL that I actually like that aren't San Francisco. Like,
I don't like them, but I don't have a massive hatred for them. I have a massive hatred for Russell Wilson, but
yeah, and he plays for the Denver Broncos, so
the
yeah,
problem
I
is
hate him.
I actually quite like Sean Payton though. So
Why do you like Sean Payton? He was the author of Bountygate and had a horrible film about his life that was released on the streaming platform. Like, why would I
hey,
want to watch that?
home team is great.
No, it's not. It's factually inaccurate. Let's talk about the accuracy of The Blind Side, like we did last week. Like,
Yeah, I don't. Bountygate was sort of like I watched the NFL in like that time, but I only got really into the NFL like really in 2016.
okay. So he was massively responsible for Bountygate and
Yeah, I
injuring Brett
know.
Favre. I mean,
Yeah,
Brett Favre is also a CD POS allegedly, but you know, he was the author of Bountygate, and the fact that he didn't get as severe ban as he should have is again just damning of the NFL. But then again, we have
yeah.
like sex offenders and murderers in the NFL, so
Anyway, on to the last point. Sam
yes,
Howell's named QB at Washington. Now, when Sam Cow, I was really high on Sam Howell
yeah,
coming
me
out the
too,
draft.
me too. I've watched a lot of his tape in the last two preseason games for the Commanders, and he looks really good. And I'm wanting the Commanders to do well this year now.
Yeah, coming out of the draft, I was really high on Sam Howell, and
Yeah,
Ollie was really high on Desmond Ridder,
yeah,
and Tom just sort of
nodded.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I like Sam Howell. I think he definitely has the tools around him. I mean, I mean, Curtis Samuel, I always expect to do better than he actually does. But he has Scary Terry. He has two very good running backs in Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson. So he definitely has enough around him. And it's not
Yeah,
like and I mean, Eric Bieniemy is meant to be able to go and run a pretty good offense.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, he ran a certain. It's interesting to see because I want to know, was it Bieniemy or was it Mahomes in Kansas City? So I'm interested to see this. But I feel like Ron Rivera is sort of betting his job on Sam Howell.
He is, and I think he's got this year to prove to the new ownership that he is. I don't think Riverboat will be coach going into the 2024 season, but
I agree with you.
I think this
I
is
think
his
they need
last.
to. I think they need to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean it's not even that. It's like, and we can apply it to the British football model as well. Is you tend to find like when a new ownership comes in, and this has happened significantly twice in the last couple of years. One to Chelsea and one to Newcastle United, where a new ownership comes in, and it's not just we're now the new owners. It's, well, let's bring in our own people. And it happened when PIF bought Newcastle United, and Steve Bruce lasted not even a week, and they sacked him and brought in Eddie Howe eventually. When Todd Bowley come into Chelsea, Thomas Tuchel, who had just won them the Champions League, got
That
sacked,
was
and
such
they
a bad
brought in
decision.
their own manager.
Graham Potter.
No, but that's what we find with like franchise like, and it's the same thing in Denver. A new ownership came in, and then they brought in what's his name, who they sacked this year. Who's the one that who did this Denver just
Was
sack
it
before they got Peyton?
Was it Fangio? It wasn't Fangio, was it?
No.
Oh, Hackett.
No. Hackett,
Hackett.
Nathaniel Hackett, because because they were banking on him being able to bring into Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
So you tend to find this, that a new ownership comes in and they want to bring in their own man, and the command, he called them the Redskins. The Commanders paid the owner paid for the Commanders a ton of money, and he's going to bring in his own people to run his now new team. So I don't think Ron's probably going to be given the season as a courtesy of, you're a legendary figure and we respect what you've done.
Well,
Blah 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 blah.
what it was
I
is
think
it
even if they
only
get to the, I think if
it only went through about 2 weeks ago, didn't it? Like the actual
yeah.
sale.
So
So they could.
I think you'll
So
have
I
the
feel like they're
season.
like, okay, we've missed the draft. We've missed free agency. We've missed the draft. Give Ribbo one this season. Sack him off. Bring in somebody. He can have his free agency. He
Yeah.
can have his draft. Throw money at it and see what happens.
Yes. Yeah.
And to be honest,
Absolutely. Because if I just open up the cap space,
I think Bieniemy will be the head coach of the Washington Redskins this time next season.
yeah, okay. I mean, the Commanders currently have 10.5 million in cap space. They have the 16th most, so that's before we know anybody needing to get paid in the next season. But I think even if they make the playoffs, he'll get released at the end of the year.
Anyway, just quickly because I'm conscious of
That's just my
time. Preseason week 2. Any surprising results here? Well, there are loads of surprising results, but
the Ravens losing their Goldberg streak.
yes,
The undefeated streak.
I'm so happy about this because now nobody will bang on about it. Honestly, that is the best thing that's
It's the
happened
most
this preseason.
nothingest streak. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the most
It's kind
pointless
of like
streak.
we're undefeated in the preseason. Yeah, but when was the last time you saw Lamar work in January? Like, it's all right being undefeated in games that don't matter.
Going back to the football, it's like, yeah, we won the Audi Cup 4 years in a row. Who cares?
Yeah, no one. So I was buzzing at that. I was surprised that the Jaguars turned over the Lions as easily as they did. I actually thought the Bengals and the Falcons game was a bit of a snoozer as a draw.
Yeah, well, I mean,
the Steelers looked good.
The Steelers did look
so
good.
Did the Dolphins. So did the Dolphins. So
yeah, I know. I'm feeling pretty good about my. I know it's not going to happen, but I'm feeling pretty good about my bets about the Dolphins getting to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You guys all laughed at me.
What, Dolphins 49ers, a remake of the rematch of the 1984 season? Yeah. Tua versus Purdy is like Montana versus Marino.
If we just quickly switch on to preseason week 3.
This week.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right. So there's a couple of games that I'm genuinely interested in. One is Patriots Titans because they're both teams with a lot of question marks around who's under center, but also how they're going to perform offensively. Both you'd feel like defensively, both Tennessee and Patriots are quite good. It's the question mark around the offense that.
do the Patriots have a question mark who's going to be under center?
Sorry, I phrased that really wrong. It's not necessarily about who's under center, but it's how they perform under center.
Yeah.
That's my fault. Because both teams have a lot of question marks around not necessarily who's QB1, but like is QB1 our guy?
Yeah.
Seattle versus Green Bay, again, it's going to be very interesting. I want to see Jordan Love's development a little bit more. Purely from like a selfish point of view, I want to see how the Browns compete under the Chiefs because I want to see how legitimate the Browns feel like they could be because they're probably going to play their starters in the first quarter or the first half. So seeing how they react on all three sides of the ball going against the reigning defending Super Bowl champions. But other than that, there's not really many games. I mean, I know I've named quite a couple, but like it's individual battles that I'm more interested in than the actual team versus team battles.
Bengals or Commanders, I think, could be an interesting one. Especially if Bengals start with their starting defense. I'd like to see how
Yeah.
Sam Howell performs. This sounds bad, but I have very little interest in the 49ers versus the Chargers. And it sounds like Phil's gone.
Yeah, but that's just a battle of the West Coast, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's on at 3 a.m. this time, so I'm not going to watch it.
Sorry, I'm back.
Yeah, it's on at 10 p.m. Eastern, which is 3 a.m. this time, which is just stupid. Anyway, Phil keeps coming and going, so I think this is probably a good time to end the podcast. So it's been fun. We should have Ollie and Shane back next week. So I'll just end it with see you next week and stay safe.
Hello?